At the flower viewing banquet, a drop of virgin blood appeared on the top scholar's bed. To save his bright future, I ruined my own reputation, claiming responsibility for that scandalous affair. I became a seductress in the eyes of all noble women in the capital. After becoming a thorn in everyone's side and entering the household, my mother-in-law hated me to the bone, forcing me to kneel in the Buddhist hall every day to atone for my sins. Later, he was stripped of his title due to cheating in the imperial examination, and the whole family was sentenced to exile. His aunt took her anger out on me, pushing me into a den of beggars during the journey to exile, where I was humiliated until I died. Opening my eyes, I returned to the day of the flower viewing banquet. I looked around in panic, but I quickly figured out the situation. Shen Ting was looking at me with anticipation, just like in my previous life, hoping I would take the blame for the scandal. In this life, I won't be so foolish. I hurriedly knelt down. This humble girl wishes to report the top scholar for adultery with a concubine, defiling the inner palace, a crime that cannot be pardoned. The moment the bloodstain was uncovered, the palace servants knelt before the hall, not daring to raise their heads. In my previous life, it was at this moment that I took the blame for Shen Ting. I believed that a scholar from a poor family should not be broken. During a palace banquet, I believed his promise of never betraying you in this life while he held my hand. I believed he would one day achieve high office. Later, I became the laughingstock of the capital. Everyone said the daughter of the Z family was shameless, seducing the new top scholar in the palace. Noble ladies looked at me as if I were filth. Young ladies mocked me behind my back for being cheap. My mother-in-law punished me by making me kneel in the Buddhist hall, forced me to copy scriptures, and forbade me from eating. Shen Ting would only stand outside the door. He urged me to endure it, saying his mother was old, and asking me to be more understanding. I was understanding until the very end, only to be rewarded with his exam fraud and the exile of the entire clan. Then I was pushed into a den of beggars by his mother. The wind and snow were raging that day. The clothes on my body were torn to shreds. My nails dug into the mud. I screamed until my throat was raw, but no one came to save me. Now, opening my eyes again, I have returned to this moment, back to the day before Shen Ting climbed over me to rise. He stood in the center of the crowd, looking toward me. But as soon as I remember the cold tiles of the Buddhist hall from my past life, remembering the exile, a fire burns in my chest. So, before anyone else could speak, I shouted out sharply, "This humble girl wishes to report Shen Ting for adultery with a concubine, defiling the inner palace, a crime that cannot be pardoned." As my voice fell, the whole hall was shocked. Even the emperor on his high throne suddenly looked up,
his heavy gaze pressing down on me.
"What did you say?" I hurriedly knelt down, bowing my body low. My forehead hit the ground with a heavy thud. I spoke to the emperor with poise. I would not dare speak recklessly about Shen Ting's adultery with a concubine. "The blood on this bed is the evidence." Shen Ting's face turned pale instantly, and tears quickly welled up in his eyes. He said to me desolately, "Do you truly have to be so heartless? That night you cried and said your family was forcing you to marry a playboy, begging me to take you away. In a moment of soft-heartedness, I broke the rules. I intended to ask the emperor for a marriage decree today. Even if I cannot be the top scholar, I still want to marry you. But you actually framed me for adultery with a concubine. That is a crime punishable by the execution of 9 generations." He gave a bitter laugh, as if he couldn't help it. Tears actually began to fall. Several noble ladies covered their mouths and whispered, "No wonder Lord Shen has looked unwell lately. It turns out he was entangled by the Z family girl. What a cruel heart. She doesn't want to bear the reputation herself, so she's sending him to his death. Lord Shen is truly unlucky to be bothered by such a disaster." Their words were harsh, but I ignored them. I looked at Shen Ting and questioned him. "Lord Shen surely has a silver tongue. But you haven't explained this scandalous matter clearly." He walked quickly toward the center of the hall, kneeling before the emperor and bowing deeply. Then he said loudly, Your Majesty, this official is innocent. I beg for a thorough investigation. If I truly committed such a scandalous act in the palace, I am willing to be executed immediately. But if it is a slander born from a lover's quarrel, I would rather die than admit it. The eldest princess suddenly threw something heavily. A teacup shattered at my feet. The consort I have chosen. How can a lying wench like you slander him at will? You keep saying he committed adultery with a concubine, when clearly you are trying to force Lord Shen to take responsibility for you. Someone, drag this malicious woman away and search her. Several elderly maids immediately lunged forward. They came before the royals and officials' wives, tugging at my sleeves, grabbing my arms, searching me in public. For an unmarried girl, this is worse than death. Even if they find nothing, my reputation would be ruined. I suddenly broke free from one of the maids, my voice piercing the hall. Your Majesty is above. The eldest princess is trying to use private torture before the emperor. I am reporting a scandal in the inner palace. It is a matter of the emperor's honor. The eldest princess is so eager to silence me. Who exactly is she protecting? Many things I couldn't understand in my previous life now finally became clear. In my past life, I only knew the eldest princess favored Shen Ting, thinking she just admired the new top scholar's talent. She wasn't being protective. She was protecting her future consort. No wonder she was so quick to throw dirt on me. No wonder I never had a chance to clear my name after entering the Shen family. Audacious, you dare implicate me? I would not dare implicate you. I only ask one thing. If Shen Ting is truly innocent, why not investigate? Why not have the Imperial Guard seal the side hall and question everyone who entered or left? Instead of searching me first, the emperor finally spoke. Everyone, stop. The emperor looked at me. Daughter of the Z family, since you have spoken, you should know. If you cannot provide evidence for slandering an official, implicating the eldest princess is a capital offense. In response to your Majesty, I know. Then do you still dare to accuse? I beg your Majesty to grant me this, to restore my innocence. The surrounding crowd became noisy again. I could feel countless gazes pressing down on me, as if trying to pin me to the spot. But compared to the cold tiles in the Buddhist hall, compared to the wind and snow on the road to exile, compared to that night in the beggar's den, this is nothing. Shen Ting looked at me intently, suddenly showing an almost sorrowful expression. That expression was too familiar. Every time he wanted to harm me, he wore this look. In that case, I cannot cover for Miss Z any longer. Your Majesty, this is a token Miss Z gave to me. She said, if I refused to publicly admit our relationship today, she would ruin my reputation. My heart tightened. This didn't happen in my previous life. He took a handkerchief from his robe, holding it up with both hands. The handkerchief was plain white, with the Z family crest embroidered on the corner. One corner also had a small character hang embroidered in green thread. That was my childhood name. It was my handkerchief that had been missing for days. Shen Ting's voice sounded extremely sorrowful. The scent on this handkerchief is exactly the same as the lingering fragrance in that bed. I ask your Majesty to look into this. Everyone in the hall suddenly shifted their gaze. When that handkerchief was handed to the emperor, the attendant had just unfolded it, and the Z family crest was recognized. It truly is a belonging of the Z family. Even a young lady's reputation is involved. It's hard to deny it. If Lord Shen really had evil intentions, why keep such evidence around? Shen Ting's face turned pale, like someone who has endured humiliation yet tries to hold on to dignity. Back in the previous life, when he was taken to the court of judicial review, he also held my hand with red eyes in front of me like this. He said, if I ever wrong you even a bit, may heaven strike me down. The Princess Royal saw the situation was settled. Her expression softened a little. There was even a cold smile on her lips. Miss Z, do you have anything else to say? Mother, don't waste words with people like this. Princess Mingan spoke with utter disdain. She had always admired Shen Ting. Later, the Princess Royal intended to make Shen Ting her son-in-law, so he saw me as a thorn in his side. Now that he steps forward, it's not just to kick me when I'm down. As expected, he pointed to my maid Zhao Kui and said, "This maid of yours named Zhao Kui has already confessed to me just now,"
He said he personally saw you climb into Lord Shen's bed.
and ordered him to guard the door, not allowing anyone near. Now there is solid evidence. And you still want to argue? Zhao Kui knelt on the ground, her face as pale as paper. Her forehead was covered in sweat. When she saw me looking at her, she suddenly bowed her head sharply, not daring to meet my gaze at all. "Miss, spare me. This servant does not dare to hide. I really didn't dare to lie. You said as long as Lord Shen was willing to acknowledge it, you could enter the Shen family with honor. If he doesn't admit it, you would go to the emperor to force him to marry you. I'm just a servant. I dare not disobey." It was all seen with my own eyes, personally witnessed. Shen Ting looked up at me, then softly said, "I know you like me. So what if you admit it? It just means I can marry you openly and honorably." He said the same thing in the previous life. In front of the bridal sedan, he took my hand and gently said behind the wedding fan, "Don't be afraid. I'll protect you from now on." But later, the one who claimed to protect me sent me to hell by his own hand. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. That laugh was so cold, even I didn't recognize myself. "Shen Ting, you are not worthy." He seemed stung by those 4 words. His expression stiffened. "Miss Z, there's no need for this. Causing such a scene today doesn't benefit you at all." "No benefit for me? Then who does it benefit?" "It benefits you. It benefits the Princess Royal. It benefits Princess Ming'an. It benefits that concubine hiding in the shadows, who doesn't dare to show her face. Using just my reputation. Using the Z family's honor to fill the gap, isn't that right?" Upon hearing this, the Princess Royal could no longer sit still. She shouted harshly, "Quiet." But I ignored her and turned to the emperor, speaking every word with conviction. "Your Majesty, if your subject's daughter truly had an affair with Shen Ting, why wouldn't I go to my own chambers, but commit such foolishness in the side hall during a palace banquet? If I truly wanted to force myself upon him, how could I instantly accuse him of having an affair with a concubine? Wouldn't that be insane?" These words made some people's expressions change slightly. Indeed, if it was just for marriage, smearing him for an affair with a concubine, this move is too risky and foolish. One misstep and it could mean extermination of the whole family. But Shen Ting reacted extremely quickly, because once things blow up, if I don't want to die, I can only admit to an affair with you. Turn this into a simple matter of love. You're good at making things up. No wonder you were able to cover up cheating in the imperial exam in the last life, without any leaks. At this point, an older noblewoman suddenly stepped forward to address the emperor and bowed. "Boldly, your Majesty? Since both sides insist on their version, why not search Miss Z's person first, to see if there are any personal tokens or love letters? If something really is found, at least things will be clearer." Once she finished speaking, many agreed. I looked at that noblewoman, recognizing her as one of the Princess Royal's people. None of these people have changed. I slowly straightened my back. "A body search is fine." The Princess Royal was stunned, not expecting me to agree. I looked directly at the emperor, but I have a condition. No one from the Princess Royal's household may participate in the search. The side hall must be sealed off before the search. Request the imperial physician to examine the blood on the couch separately.
If only I am searched.
It's not an investigation, it's silencing me. The Princess Royal's face darkened. "Who do you think you are? Daring to set conditions before the emperor?" "I dare not set conditions. I just seek justice." Or is the Princess Royal afraid to investigate at all? "Insolence!" The emperor spoke coldly. "Elder sister," just 2 words, making the Princess Royal's hand freeze in midair. The emperor looked at me with a scrutinizing gaze. "You are quite calm." "Because I did not do it." And if it turns out you made it up, I will stake my life for life. When those 4 words were spoken, even the emperor paused. The main hall was as quiet as a graveyard. Shen Ping looked at me, his eyes finally changed. There was no longer just fake suffering in them, but also a hint of darkness. He probably realized, I am not someone he can manipulate like in the previous life. But he still wasn't flustered, because he still had cards left. And I knew, his mother and son pair, expert at demeaning others, would never let me stand there calmly. Sure enough, a sudden bout of wailing was heard outside. Heavens, there's no justice. My innocent son, a scholar, has been tangled up with this low-class girl. I shuddered all over. That voice, I could never forget even in death. The crowd was parted. An old woman dressed in a patched quilted jacket broke through the guard's blockade and slapped her thighs as she wailed. It was Shen's mother, the mother-in-law who shoved me into a beggar's den in my previous life. She came fast. I clenched my hands tightly. My knuckles turned white. She cried and cursed at me. The Z family is a scholarly household. How did they produce a vixen? My son Shen Ting studied hard for 10 years, became the top scorer. You worthless woman. Couldn't seduce him, so you tried to slander him? Every word was cutting. Everybody, come and see. This woman clearly isn't the decent type. How could my son like someone like her? Every line was just like in my previous life. Shen's mother's crying and fussing drew everyone's attention in the garden. My father failed to teach his son properly. My father deserves to die, but my father simply couldn't stand to see my son driven to death by this kind of woman. My son has always kept away from women. How could such a disgraceful thing happen today? He ranted and raved hysterically. Every word was pushing me to die. Mother, please stop talking. Why can't I speak? You're just too soft-hearted. That's why you let this kind of woman take control. You cover for him, but he's taking your life. I don't want to waste words on this shrew. I turn and kneel before His Majesty and press my forehead heavily to the ground once more. I've already made up my mind what to do. Your Majesty, this humble girl wants to ask, today at the 100 Flowers banquet, the Holy Mother came as a commoner. How did she manage to break through all the guards and barge into the banquet? Who cleared the way for her? The princess quickly interrupted. Don't change the subject. I simply don't understand. How could today's events be such a coincidence? My handkerchief is with Shen Ting, and Shen's mother just happened to rush in crying at the most critical moment. Is it really possible for things to line up so perfectly? The princess's face turned pale. She didn't expect me to be so relentless. Shen Ting stepped forward, trying to regain control of the situation. If you hate me for refusing to marry you, you can come at me directly. Why drag my mother into this? He just cares about me too much. He cares about you too much. Yes, you're his favorite. So much so that he could drive someone else to death for you. Shen's mother suddenly acted as if her tail had been stepped on, jumping up and screaming. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm spouting nonsense. Yet you just told me to die in front of everyone. Is that also nonsense? You deserve to die anyway. The Holy Mother blurted out. The hall instantly fell silent. The emperor's brows had already furrowed, displeasure on his face. He looked sternly at the Holy Mother. With this outburst from the Holy Mother, the attention of the officials and the emperor shifted toward me. Ziheng is just stalling. Why keep listening to his nonsense? Just shut it all down. Princess Ningyan saw right through it. She wanted to take advantage of the chaos and cut to the chase. I should act first. It's time I show my trump card. Let's see who dares. My chastity mark is still intact. So how could that blood on the bed be mine? I suddenly lift my hand, rolling up my own sleeve, my pale arm exposed for all to see. Near my elbow, a bright red spot remains unmistakably visible, striking and eye-catching. An uproar swept the hall. First, dead silence. Then a sudden explosion of noise. She's still a virgin. The blood on that bed wasn't hers.
This.
How is this possible? The princess's face changed dramatically. Princess Ming'an even took half a step back, her pupils contracting. The Holy Mother stood there, her mouth open, like she'd been slapped silly. She cursed so viciously just now, so sure of herself. But now this one mark is more convincing than any words. I lower my sleeve and let out a cold laugh. Scholar Shen claimed the blood was mine, but I am still untouched to this day, since Scholar Shen can't explain where that blood came from. Why not have the Imperial Guards in charge of the banquet patrol investigate and see which consort just left here improperly dressed? The Emperor's expression darkened completely. His favorite was the recently entered consort Li. If it were proven that the inner palace was trysting with a foreign official, the palace would be turned upside down. Yet, he could not afford not to investigate. Because of the weight I carry, after surviving an assassination attempt in the palace, the previous accusations from Shen Ting and the Grand Princess could no longer hold water. If they still tried to forcibly drag me down, it would only make the royal family appear guilty. I knew I had pushed them to the edge of the abyss, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. The life from my past existence, the endless kneeling on that path, the body covered in blood, it cannot be traded merely for a moment of embarrassment for them. I want to drag the culprit out into the light. I want them to feel true pain. So while everyone was shaken, I suddenly lunged forward with a struggle, shaking off the old maidservants who tried to restrain me. I pointed at Shen Ting's sleeve. Your Majesty, he still has something hidden in his sleeve. Shen Ting's expression turned sharp. He subconsciously pressed down on his sleeve. It was in that very split second that I became more certain the item was still there. Exactly the same as in my past life. In my past life, before I died, I was dragged back to the Shen family. In a half-conscious state, I once saw Shen Ting under the lamp, stroking a lady's handkerchief, with a smile on his lips. That handkerchief was embroidered with silk tree flowers, and there was a spot of dark red on the corner. When he saw me wake up, he didn't even try to hide it. He simply said indifferently, this was a reward from a noble. It has nothing to do with you. Later, from the fragments of arguments between my mother-in-law and him, I overheard that it was a personal item belonging to Consort Li, and that smear of blood was left there from that night. I remembered it all along, remembering it until death, never daring to forget. Take it out, I shouted sternly. Lord Shen, do you dare to take out the handkerchief in your sleeve?
Let His Majesty see.
If a corner of that handkerchief is also stained with blood. As these words fell, everyone's expression changed. The Grand Princess was the first to react. She shouted sharply to stop him. But the Emperor was faster.
Imperial Guards, he said in a low, heavy voice.
Restrain Shen Ting. Several guards stepped forward instantly. Shen Ting recoiled violently, the mournful look on his face finally shattering completely. He reached out, trying to destroy the item in his sleeve, but it was already too late. One guard grabbed his wrist, while another reached into his sleeve with agility, pulling out a soft handkerchief. With a lotus flower pattern, the embroidery was exquisite. One could tell at a glance it was not a commoner's item. Indeed, there was a small, dried patch of dark red at the corner. The Emperor stared at the handkerchief, killing intent rising in his eyes. Everyone in the hall dropped to their knees in unison, not even daring to breathe loudly. This was no longer a matter of a private affair. This was a scandal in the inner palace, filth upon the Emperor's head, a thing that meant death for whoever was touched by it. The Grand Princess also knelt, her face as white as paper. No matter how much she wanted to protect Shen Ting, she knew that this time he could not be saved. She just hadn't expected that the husband she had painstakingly selected would be bold enough to climb into the bed of her brother's favorite consort. Commandery Princess Ming'an looked as if she had lost her soul. Kneeling there, her fingernails almost dug into her palms. Shen's mother was a bit slow to react. Seeing everyone kneeling, she scrambled frantically to the floor, muttering and trembling, "No, it's impossible. Warner isn't that kind of person. Warner isn't that kind of person. Not that kind of person." I looked down at her, my heart feeling like a block of ancient ice that had finally cracked open. Of course she didn't believe it. In her eyes, her son was always the moon in the sky. Even if he committed murder or arson, It must have been someone else who forced him. In the past life, when his cheating in the imperial exams was exposed,
He didn't scold his son for being reckless.
he only cursed me for ruining his luck. Now that things have reached this point, she still wanted to find excuses for him. But in this world, there isn't always someone to swallow the bitter fruit for them. The emperor's voice was terrifyingly cold. Summon Consort Li. This single sentence was like a bolt of lightning striking down. Even the wind outside the hall turned chilly. The attendants hurried to deliver the summons. No one in the hall dared to move. Shen Ting was held down on his knees by the guards.
His arms twisted behind him.
He finally lost that gentle and elegant facade. He looked up at me, showing true hatred in his eyes for the first time. "You knew all along," I said as I looked at him. "That's why I waited for you to seek your own destruction." He stared at me for a moment, then suddenly laughed. The laughter was trembling, carrying the desperate air of someone at the end of their rope. "Do you think you've won?" "At least I won't lose, the same way as in my past life." His pupils constricted violently. I knew this sentence would terrify him, because only he knew that in my past life I truly died at his hands. His expression changed bit by bit, as if he had seen a ghost. But I didn't look at him again. Some people are not worth one more word of my time. Soon Consort Li was brought in. She was draped in an outer robe. Her hair bun was somewhat messy, and the corners of her eyes still held the lingering flush of passion. Anyone close enough could tell something was wrong at a glance. As soon as she entered the hall and saw that handkerchief, her legs turned to jelly. She collapsed to her knees with a thud. There was no need for further interrogation. Everyone understood. The emperor stared at her, silent for a long time. That silence was more terrifying than a thunderclap. Finally, he let out a slow laugh, but the mirth didn't reach his eyes at all. "Good, very good." In the next instant, he violently smashed a jade cup from the table. "Drag this pair of wretches down. Interrogate them separately." Consort Li let out a piercing scream, going limp on the spot. Shen Ting still tried to struggle, but was held down firmly by the guards. Shen's mother rushed forward weeping. "Your Majesty, have mercy. My son was framed." "He was framed." The guard pushed her away without mercy. Her forehead struck the bricks heavily, and blood began to flow immediately. In the past life, she watched me bleed, without even blinking. Now that it was her turn, she cried as if the sky had fallen. The Grand Princess closed her eyes, and finally prostrated herself to beg for forgiveness. This sister was poor in judging character. "Please punish me, royal brother." The emperor didn't look at her, only saying coldly, "Elder sister, you should be glad that what you lost today was not your life." That single sentence stripped away her last bit of dignity. Commander Princess Ming'an's tears hit the floor, her shoulders shaking violently. Her little girlish feelings were completely dead by this moment. And I knelt where I was, finally letting out a slow breath. It was as if a thorn stuck in my throat had been pulled out. It wasn't entirely out yet, but at least blood had been drawn. The emperor's gaze finally landed on me. "Daughter of the Z family, you have done well in reporting this today. But how did you know about that handkerchief?" This question was the most dangerous. A bad answer would lead to another dead end. My forehead touched the ground, my voice not loud. As I said, I once followed my mother into the palace as a child. In the Empress Dowager's palace, I saw the palace ladies using this pattern. Just now, when I saw a corner peeking out of Lord Shen's sleeve, I became suspicious. I didn't dare be certain, and could only risk my life to try. It was half truth and half lie. The emperor stared at me, as if weighing the gravity of every word I said. After a long while, he said indifferently, "You are quite clever." I wouldn't dare. I just wanted to live. Once these words were out, many in the hall fell silent. The words wanting to live are both too light and too heavy. If I hadn't fought to tear open the truth today, the one being dragged down for a body search and beaten to death to keep silent would have been me. No one would have cried out against the injustice for me, and the Z family would only have been shamed by me. It wasn't that I was clever. I was just pushed to a point where I could no longer retreat. The emperor waved his hand. Escort Miss Z back to her residence. As for today's events, whoever dares to spread a word will be beaten to death. When the attendant led me out of the side hall, the wind outside still carried the scent of crabapple flowers. But I felt cold all over. Even my fingertips were trembling slightly. It wasn't fear. It was a foul air accumulated over 2 lifetimes that had finally been exhaled through my throat. I felt empty, yet filled with an unprecedented sense of relief. The attendant leading the way was an old-timer by the emperor's side. His expression was respectful, his footsteps extremely light, and he didn't say a word throughout. Only as I stepped out of the palace gate did he whisper, "Miss Z, you've had quite a fright.
His Majesty ordered.
For you to be safely escorted home. Imperial guards will protect you along the way. No one will dare disturb you." I nodded slightly, without saying a word. My gaze swept across the corridor outside the shop. Those noble ladies and officials' wives who once looked at me with scorn and ridicule when I was slandered, now all kept their heads down, averting their eyes, not even daring to meet my gaze. I remembered in my last life. It was also in this corridor. I was dragged away by a nanny from the Grand Princess's mansion, my clothes disheveled, and my hair all messy, with only endless taunts in my ears, calling me a shameless vixen. And Shen Ting was just standing not far away, wearing his splendid champion's robe, looking at me coldly, as if seeing a stranger of no importance. But today is different. The Z family's carriage had long been waiting outside the palace gates. The curtain was lifted. My brother Zijing stood by the carriage, his face full of worry. When he saw me come out, he quickly approached, reaching out to help me. But afraid he might hurt me, his actions paused for a moment. His voice was hoarse. "Aheng, are you all right?" When I saw the red veins in my brother's eyes, my nose tingled with sorrow. In my past life, after I was disgraced, my brother pleaded for me, kneeling outside the palace for a whole day and night, and was rebuked by the emperor, accused of indulging his sister's misconduct, and stripped of his position as Hanlin Academy editor. Later, he was implicated in Shen Ting's civil service cheating case, exiled 3,000 miles away, and died in a foreign land. At that time, I was trapped in the Shen family, humiliated every day by my mother-in-law. Even the news of my brother's death, I only learned about it long after, from an old exiled acquaintance. "Brother, I'm fine." I grabbed his hand, the chill in my fingertips melted by the warmth of his palm. "Sorry to have worried you." Zijing's eyes grew even redder, but he held back tears and helped me into the carriage. "As long as you're all right, that's all that matters. Father and mother have been worried sick at home, just waiting for your return." The carriage rolled forward slowly, its wheels clattering on the cobblestone road, making a rumbling sound, overlapping with the sound of the carriage. When I was taken to the Shen family in my previous life, then drifting apart, I lifted a corner of the carriage curtain, looking out the window, at the palace walls speeding past. I knew deep down, today's victory was only the beginning. Shen Ting and Consort Li have been arrested, the Grand Prince is punished, but this is far from enough. All the suffering I endured in my past life, my brother's death, and all the grievances against the Z family must be repaid one by one. When we returned to the Z residence, the main gate was wide open. My parents had long been waiting in the entrance hall. As soon as my mother saw me, she rushed over, hugging me and sobbing uncontrollably. Her voice was choked with emotion. "My dear, Hang, you finally made it back. I thought I would never see you again." Father stood off to the side, his expression extremely grave, his eyes also red, but he tried to stay composed, patting my shoulder. "It's good to have you back. Just glad you're home. I've heard all about what happened today. You did well." I leaned into my mother's embrace, feeling her warm arms around me, and tears finally rolled down my cheeks uncontrollably. In my past life, after I returned home, what greeted me was not my parents' love, but my father's scolding and my mother's disappointment. They thought I had brought shame to the Z family and locked me in my room. Later, when Shen Ting sent someone to fetch me, they didn't hesitate to send me away, as if I were a burdensome hot potato. Father, mother, I'm sorry for making you worry. I dried my tears, raised my head with determination in my eyes. From now on, I won't let anyone bully the Z family again, and I won't make you worry about me anymore. Father looked at me, a hint of comfort in his eyes, mixed with some concern. Aheng, today you publicly denounced Shen Ting and Consort Li, and although the emperor is on your side, the Grand Princess will definitely not let it go easily. She has built up her power in the palace for years. Her influence is huge. We must be careful. I nodded, Father. I understand. The Grand Princess had her eye on Shen Ting, and originally wanted him as her prince consort. Now that this has happened, she has completely lost face, and will surely take her anger out on our family. But there's no reason for us to fear her either. What happened today was all the result of Shen Ting and Consort Li's crimes. The emperor knows exactly what's going on. As long as we act with integrity, he won't be able to catch us with anything. Brother Z, Jin also chimed in, Father. Aheng is right. Today, Aheng made a bold move to defend herself, proving her innocence, and also exposed evidence of Shen Ting's affair with Consort Li. The emperor admires Aheng quite a lot. And as for Shen Ting's previous cheating in the imperial exam, I think it's time to bring that up too. By then, the Shen family and the Grand Princess's faction will have an even harder time standing their ground. Father pondered for a moment, then nodded. You have a point. Jing, tomorrow, go to the Hanlin Academy and find out the details about Shen Ting and Consort Li's interrogation. And also keep an eye on the Grand Princess movements. Aheng, you've had a fright today. Go rest well in your room. Your brother and I will handle the matters at home. There's no need for you to worry. I answered softly, turned and returned to my own room. The moment I pushed open the door, familiar sights greeted me. The perwood desk, the orchid painting on the wall, the ink orchid I planted by the window. Everything just like in my previous life, yet completely different. In my former life, I wept here every day, hoping Shen Ting would come to get me, hoping she'd keep her lifelong promise to me. But in the end, all I got was endless despair. I walked over to the window, stroking the leaves of that ink orchid, feeling its cool touch on my fingertips. In this life, I will never again be the foolishly devoted Ziheng. I will protect my family, and make everyone who ever hurt me pay a heavy price. In the next several days, undercurrents surged through the capital. The interrogation of Shen Ting and Consort Li became the focus of everyone's attention. Every day when my brother returned from the Hanlin Academy, he brought me the latest updates. According to him, Shen Ting kept denying everything at first, claiming I had slandered him, and that it was Consort Li who seduced him. But once the guards searched his residence and found even more love tokens from Consort Li, alongside evidence of his cheating in the imperial exam, he finally broke down and confessed everything. It turned out Shen Ting came from a humble family, studied hard for 10 years and seemed gentle and refined, but was actually incredibly ambitious and vain. He had long known the Grand Princess wanted him as her consort, but was unsatisfied with just being dependent on her. So he secretly colluded with the favored Consort Li, hoping to use her influence to climb higher in the court. On the day of the flower banquet, he originally planned to secretly meet Consort Li in the side hall, but unexpectedly was caught by a palace servant. In his panic, he thought of me, trying to shift the blame onto me, hoping to save his reputation, while also currying favor with the Grand Princess, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But his cheating in the imperial exam was even more shocking. To ensure he became the top scholar, he bribed the chief examiner in secret, tampered with his papers, and paid off several candidates to have them deliberately fail, making him look even more talented. His cheating was only exposed in my last life, because someone reported him anonymously. But this time, thanks to my timely disclosure, his affair with Consort Li was exposed first, and the old cheating case brought out together. With solid evidence, he couldn't deny anything. Consort Li also tried every excuse at first, But when Shen Ting confessed, she realized there was no way out, and simply gave in, revealing every detail of her affair with Shen Ting, and even implicating several palace maids and eunuchs aligned with her. When the emperor learned the truth, he was furious, and immediately ordered Shen Ting's scholar title to be stripped, and sentenced him to death by 1,000 cuts. The entire Shen family was exiled 3,000 miles away, banished from the capital forever. Consort Li was stripped of her title, thrown into the cold palace, tormented day after day, did not meet a peaceful end. All the servants and eunuchs who conspired with Shen Ting, Consort Li, were dealt with one by one. Some were beaten to death. Some were exiled. None were spared. When I heard this news, I was copying scriptures in my boudoir. In my previous life, the Divine Mother pushed me into a den of beggars. I suffered both physical and emotional torment, and was humiliated to death by the beggars. Before dying, my greatest wish was to see Shen Ting and her mother disgraced and ruined, and meet a miserable end. Now, Shen Ting has been sentenced to death by slow slicing. The entire Shen family has been exiled. My wish has finally come true. But I feel no joy at all, only a faint sense of relief. The hatred suppressed in my heart, and the pain of 2 lifetimes, finally had an outlet at this moment. I put down my writing brush, walked to the window, and looked at the sunlight outside. Suddenly, all the suffering from my past life seemed to vanish like smoke. But I also know, Shen Ting's death doesn't mean it's all over. The Princess Royal's rage hasn't been vented yet. Sure enough, a few days later, the Princess Royal started to take action. Although she was punished and confined by the emperor, and her salary was reduced at the princess's residence, her influence in court remained immense. Many officials loyal to her began secretly targeting the Z family. First, my father's colleagues secretly submitted memorials to the emperor, falsely accusing my father of corruption while in office, and accepting bribes. Although the emperor wasn't easily fooled, an investigation proved my father's innocence. It still brought my father a lot of trouble. Next, my brother was ostracized at the Hanlin Academy. He lost the editing position he was supposed to receive, and could only do unimportant chores. Even the servants in the household became restless. A few servants bribed by the Princess Royal's mansion began spreading rumors in secret, saying that although I had cleared my name, I was once involved with Shen Ting, and my reputation was already ruined. In the future, no one would dare marry me. They also claimed the Z family would eventually be brought down by the Princess Royal, and everyone would suffer when that happened. After Mother heard about this, she was worried sick, and couldn't eat or sleep day after day. She urged me to keep a low profile, and not oppose the Princess Royal anymore, even wishing I'd marry early, to find someone powerful as protection, to keep myself safe, and protect the Z family as well. I know you feel wronged, my child, and I know you did the right thing, but the Princess Royal's power is too strong. We can't afford to provoke her. Mother held my hand, with tears streaming down her face. Please listen to me this once. Find a good family to marry into, and live your days peacefully. Don't get involved in court affairs anymore. As I looked at my mother's haggard face, my heart ached. But I can't back down. In my past life, it was because we kept compromising and kept giving in that the Princess Royal and Shen Ting kept pushing their limits until our family was destroyed in the end. In this life, I will never repeat those mistakes. Mother, I cannot retreat. I held my mother's hand, firmness in my eyes. If the Princess Royal can frame father today and suppress my brother, tomorrow she could destroy our Z family completely. The more we back down, the bolder she becomes. Instead of waiting to be slaughtered, we should strike first and bring her down completely. Only then can our Z family truly be safe. Father agreed with my idea. Aheng is right. The Princess Royal is wildly ambitious. She has long wanted to control the court. Shen Ting was just one of her pawns. Now that pawn is gone, she will definitely look for another. Our Z family is the obstacle in her path. We must act first, find her leverage, and ensure she never recovers. Brother added, Father Ahang, I've already discovered that over the years, the Princess Royal has secretly recruited many private soldiers and even colluded with officials outside the court, harboring treacherous intentions. But she did it so secretly that there's no solid evidence left behind. As long as we can find evidence and present it to the emperor, the Princess Royal will be doomed. I nodded in agreement. Brother is right. The Princess Royal has been operating in secret for years. There must be leverage to use against her. We just haven't found it yet. We can start with the servants in her household. Those who've served her for years must know many of her secrets. Also, although Shen Ting is dead, some of his former subordinates might know things about the Princess Royal. We can investigate them in secret. And so, our family reached an agreement and began quietly investigating the Princess Royal's crimes. Brother was in charge of gathering information from her servants. Father was responsible for contacting officials who resented the Princess Royal. I, on the other hand, used my memories from my previous life to recall details connected with the Princess Royal, searching for her weaknesses. Back in my past life, when I was in the Shen family, I once overheard a conversation between Shen's mother and Shen Ting about how the Princess Royal was secretly collaborating with a border general, supplying him with food and weapons to let him fortify his own forces at the border. And when the time was right, work together from inside and outside to support a puppet emperor and control the government. At the time, I didn't know if it was true, but thinking back now, this might be the Princess Royal's greatest leverage against her. I told father and brother about this. After hearing it, father's expression turned grim. If this is true, the Princess Royal is guilty of treason. An execution of her entire clan would not be too much. But this is a grave matter. We must find solid evidence, and can't alert her prematurely. Brother said, I'll go investigate that border general right away, to see if he really colluded with the Princess Royal. Additionally, I'll also look into the Princess Royal's manor accounts, to see if there are signs of secretly transferring funds, or purchases of food and weapons. In the days that followed, our entire family devoted ourselves to the investigation. It wasn't a smooth process. The Princess Royal was extremely vigilant. Her servants were all tight-lipped and wouldn't dare say a word. She also hid evidence of her dealings with the border general very carefully, leaving very few traces. One time, my brother secretly sent someone to her residence to gather information, but they were caught by the Princess Royal's guards and harshly tortured. Luckily, that person was loyal enough not to reveal anything about our Z family. In the end, my brother managed to rescue him, but he was seriously injured. After mother learned of this, she was terrified and begged us in tears to stop investigating, afraid our family would be wiped out because of this. But I knew we no longer had any way out, and if we backed out now, the Princess Royal would only come after us more viciously. At that point, our fate would be even worse than in our past life. I comforted my mother, saying, Mom, don't worry, we'll be careful, and won't put ourselves in danger. Besides, we already have some clues, and just need to hang on a bit longer. Then we'll definitely find evidence of the Princess Royal's treason. By then, the Emperor will stand up for the Z family and topple the Princess Royal completely. Mother saw the determination in my eyes and knew my mind was made up, so she could only nod helplessly and stop trying to persuade me, and prayed for our safety every single day, hoping we'd all be safe and sound. Hard work pays off. After more than a month of secret investigation, we finally found evidence of the Princess Royal's plot. My brother found letters between the Princess Royal and the border general, with detailed records of their conspiracy, as well as accounts showing how she secretly provided food and weapon supplies to the border general. Additionally, my father contacted several officials dissatisfied with the Princess Royal, who agreed to submit a joint memorial, exposing her crimes. When the time was right, my father and brother presented the evidence. Enter the palace to meet the emperor. After the emperor reviewed the evidence, he was utterly furious. He immediately ordered the imperial guards to surround the Princess Royal's residence. Princess Royal and Princess Mingyan, as well as everyone in the household involved in the rebellion, were all arrested and thrown into the heavenly prison. That day, the whole capital was shaken. The Princess Royal's residence was tightly surrounded by the guards. The Princess Royal, dressed in her luxurious finery, was escorted out of the mansion by the guards, looking haggard. Gone was her usual pride and cleverness. When she saw me standing to the side, her gaze was fierce. She stared at me intently, cursing Ziheng endlessly. You wretch! I won't let you off. Even in death I won't let you off. I looked at her coldly, saying nothing. In my past life, she forced me to lose my innocence, ruined my reputation, and destroyed my family. Now she's finally met her downfall. It's all of her own making. When Princess Mingyan was escorted out, her clothes were in disarray. Her hair was messy, her eyes empty, like a soulless shell. She once adored Shenting so much, and hated me so deeply. But in the end, Shenting died, and her own mother became a traitor. Everything she had was ruined. Seeing her like this, I felt no sympathy at all. In my previous life, she had followed the Princess Royal in tormenting me and mocking my misfortune. Now, she is only getting what she deserves. The Princess Royal's treason case was quickly brought to light. With undeniable evidence, the Princess Royal was sentenced to execution of her entire clan. Princess Mingyan, as her daughter, though not directly involved in the rebellion, was stripped of her title, thrown into the cold palace, and imprisoned for life. The officials and border commanders who colluded with the Princess Royal were all dealt with accordingly. Some were beheaded, some exiled, some had their family's property confiscated. The Princess Royal's faction was utterly crushed. When the news spread, the entire Z family rejoiced. News of the destruction of the Princess Royal's faction was like a fresh breeze, blowing away the gloom over the capital. Those officials who once relied on the Princess Royal were either implicated and punished, with their properties confiscated and exiled, or voluntarily submitted their resignations, shutting themselves away, or kept their heads down from then on, barely daring to breathe, never again daring to stir up trouble, or form private cliques. In the imperial court, clarity and uprightness finally returned after so long. Officials fulfilled their duties and handled affairs with integrity. No longer were there the flattery and scheming of the past. And our Z family, in this tumultuous incident, stood strong with uprightness and wisdom, not only clearing away lingering threats of implication, but also earning a deep impression from the emperor, truly establishing our place, and rising to even greater prestige, becoming one of the most respected families in the capital. After father was promoted to Minister of Personnel, he became even more dedicated, working tirelessly to reform officialdom day and night, and eliminate long-standing abuses. He was an upright and honest official, upright and unyielding, from the very start of his appointment. He personally reviewed all case files from the Princess Royal's time, sorting out various old documents, abolishing many harsh and unreasonable levies and policies, and strictly punishing those who abused her power for corruption and oppressed the people. Those officials who had once sought favor saw father's uncompromising integrity, and all quickly restrained themselves, no longer daring to act recklessly. Father's actions earned deep respect from other honest officials and won the emperor's full trust. Every morning before dawn, he entered the palace for meetings, discussing state affairs with the emperor, exploring policies and reforms, returning home utterly exhausted only late at night. Even so, he never complained, not even once. Every time I advised him to rest more, he would only smile gently and say, "If I can do something truly helpful for the people, and keep the Z family safe, that is my greatest wish. This little hardship is nothing." After my elder brother Zi Jing returned to the Hanlin Academy, he devoted himself wholly to his studies, diligent and hardworking, studying day and night, dedicating himself to compiling the official histories, never slacking off at all. He was already exceptionally talented, with outstanding literary skill, and with the accumulation and experience of these years, the essays he wrote had depth and vision, and his writing was always smooth and eloquent, often being noticed by the emperor, and he received many awards and gifts.
His colleagues at Hamlin Academy
No longer dared to ostracize him as before. but instead eagerly befriended him, admiring his talent and character, often discussing scholarship with him, and refining their writing together. Sometimes when my brother came home, he would share interesting stories from the academy with me, telling of his debates with colleagues over historical sources, their endless arguments, and how, when the emperor read his books, he looked on with approval, and spoke of his own plans for writing future histories, his eyes shining with youthful ambition. A look I'd never seen in him in my previous life. When I saw the light in his eyes, my heart was filled with comfort. My brother who, in my past life, spoke up for me, and was exiled by the Princess Royal's false accusations, ultimately dying alone in a foreign land, in this life has finally broken free from fate, showing his true talents, fulfilling his ambitions, and living the way he wanted. Mother's worries finally eased completely as well. All her former constant anxieties were slowly replaced by smiles, and she became much more cheerful. Every day she carefully managed all the affairs of the household, from purchasing food and sewing clothes, to assigning servants and tending the gardens. Everything neatly arranged, taking meticulous care of our family's daily life. When she had free time, she stayed with me in the garden, enjoying orchids, playing chess and chatting, personally teaching me to recognize orchid varieties and how to play chess, sharing stories from the household. The worried frown that once furrowed her brow was now completely gone. She had many fewer wrinkles and looked much healthier, her whole demeanor radiating peace and happiness. Sometimes she would hold my hand, gently caressing my fingers, and talk on and on as she stroked the back of my hand. Thank goodness I never backed down then. Thank goodness our family stood united, so we survived those hard times and achieved the peace and glory of today.
I know.
The burden in Mother's heart has finally been lifted. She no longer has to worry day and night that we'd be persecuted, nor feel anxious about my reputation and future, and can finally enjoy these peaceful days. As for me, I remain in my boudoir, reading, practicing calligraphy, and admiring orchids each day. My days calm and steady. Only I no longer live, lost in feelings for Shen Ting like my past life, and I'm no longer consumed by old hatred. Instead, I've become more open and composed. I've started learning to manage some household affairs, studying with Mother the ways of housekeeping, learning how to organize the servants, and keep the household accounts, and handle all sorts of daily matters, studying with Father how to conduct myself, learning how to distinguish right from wrong, how to act with composure, and how to protect myself and my family in complex situations, learning reading and writing skills from my brother, working on improving my literary style, learning to appreciate the classics, and gaining wisdom and strength from books.
I know.
Only by making myself stronger and better can I truly protect my family, be worthy of the Z family's reputation today, and not waste this chance at rebirth. This day, I was practicing calligraphy in my room, with an excellent gray inkstone on my desk, a few lines of neat calligraphy on the rice paper, with the scent of ink mingling with orchids from outside the window. Peaceful and beautiful. Suddenly, my brother quietly pushed open the door, his face devoid of his usual smile. Instead, there was a hint of gravity in his expression. He was still clutching a letter tightly in his hand, his fingertips turning slightly white from the force. "Ahang, look at this." He walked quickly to my side, handed the letter to me, with a trace of unmistakable worry in his tone. I put down the writing brush in my hand, wiped my fingers with a silk handkerchief, took the letter with my fingertips, and slowly unfolded it. I saw that the handwriting in the letter was scrawled, the ink stains were messy, and the tone was extremely urgent. It was actually from the person my brother sent to investigate the mother of Shen, a reply that had just arrived. Every line was filled with tension. The letter detailed that the mother of Shen, on the way to exile, did not, as we had expected, succumb to the hardships and bitter cold of the journey, and quickly freeze or starve to death. Although she suffered extreme torture, was beaten and insulted by fellow convicts along the way, did not have enough to eat or wear, and had fallen seriously ill, coughing incessantly, with her body covered in sores, she managed to endure through sheer force of will and a powerful desire to survive. Not only that, she also secretly contacted several former subordinates of the Shen family. Those people were descendants of collateral branches of the Shen family who were not implicated back then. Now they were scattered about, scraping by a living through small businesses. Upon learning that the mother of Shen was still alive, they began to secretly provide her with aid, sending her food and medicine, and even plotting in the shadows. They planned to take advantage of the remote location of the exile party, and the moments when the guards were lax, to help her escape the convoy, and find an opportunity to avenge Shen Ting by retaliating against our Z family, making us pay back in blood. Seeing this, my hand holding the letter tightened slightly. My fingertips turned white, and my knuckles went numb from the strain. I thought the mother of Shen had long died on the road to exile, thought the grudges of my past life could finally be settled completely, and thought our family could finally escape the shadows of the past for good, and live a peaceful and stable life. But I didn't expect her to still be alive, and that she still hadn't given up. Even after falling to such a state, she was still thinking of retaliating against our Z family, thinking of making me pay the price. A chill rose slowly from the bottom of my heart, spreading from my fingertips to my entire body. The image of being pushed into a den of beggars by the mother of Shen in my past life surfaced clearly before my eyes once again. The freezing cold wind, the filthy streets, the insults from the beggars, the pain of frequent beatings, and that bone-deep despair. It felt as if the pain was still faintly aching on my body, as if it were just yesterday. I took a deep breath, trying hard to suppress the surging emotions in my heart, refusing to let hatred cloud my judgment. Ahang, don't worry. Seeing my solemn expression and pale face, my brother hurriedly comforted me, his voice full of concern. I have already sent people to strengthen the surveillance of the mother of Shen and those former subordinates. Reliable hands have been arranged to watch their every move day and night. The moment they dare to make any move, we will notice immediately. We will never give them an opportunity to exploit. Furthermore, the exile convoy is escorted by the Imperial Guard, and security is tight. It won't be that easy for them to escape. I just feel that the mother of Shen is ruthless and extremely stubborn, with a very deep obsession. Keeping her alive will always be a hidden danger, and sooner or later she will bring trouble to our Z family. I nodded, took a deep breath, and slowly suppressed the chill and hatred in my heart. My gaze gradually became firm, no longer showing any trace of panic. My brother was right. Keeping the mother of Shen alive was always a hidden danger. In my past life, she personally pushed me into hell, making me suffer all kinds of torture, until the first died with resentment. In this life, she wants to retaliate against our Z family again, to hurt my family. I must not let her succeed. I paused, thought carefully for a moment, and said slowly, however, we cannot act rashly. The emperor has just finished reorganizing the court, and is currently focusing on cleaning up the administration, and strictly enforcing the law. What he detests most is private punishment, and the disregard for human life. If we were to dispose of the mother of Shen privately, and should someone report it, it would not only bring disaster upon our Z family, but also betray the emperor's trust in us. We can only monitor them in secret, paying close attention to her every move. Once she makes a move, showing any intent to escape or retaliate, we will report it to the emperor immediately, and let the emperor handle her according to the law. This way we won't dirty our hands, and we can eliminate the future trouble forever. It will also demonstrate the integrity of our Z family. My brother nodded in agreement, the gravity on his face easing slightly. You have a point. I was too impatient. I have already given orders for the people I sent to closely monitor the mother of Shen's every move, day and night. Once any contact with the Shen family remnants is discovered, or any intention to escape or plot revenge is found, they will report back to me immediately. There must be no delay whatsoever. In addition, I will have people secretly investigate the backgrounds of those former Shen subordinates, finding out their hiding places and contact methods to see if they have any other accomplices, so we can guard against them all at once and completely cut off their hopes. Thank you for your hard work, brother. I looked at my brother, my heart full of gratitude, my eyes warming slightly. If it weren't for my brother and father by my side, protecting me from the wind and rain, and advising me, I might have found it difficult to reach this day, difficult to avenge the blood-deep grudge of my past life, and difficult to protect our family. My brother was always like this. No matter what difficulties he encountered, he would be the first to stand up and protect me, protect the Z family, never letting me suffer the slightest grievance. My brother smiled, reached out and gently ruffled my hair, his tone gentle yet firm. Why are you being so polite with me? We are siblings, connected by blood. Protecting the Z family, and protecting you is simply what I should do. Rest assured, with me here, and with father here, we will never let the mother of Shen or those former Shen subordinates harm anyone in our Z family. We will surely keep you all safe. After my brother left, I sat alone in my bedroom, looking at the dark orchids outside the window. My mind was flooded with 1,000 thoughts, unable to settle for a long time. The appearance of the mother of Shen was like a giant boulder, shattering my peaceful and stable life. It also made me realize that the grudges of the past life might not be as easy to settle as I had imagined. Those past injuries could not be easily wiped away completely. But I was no longer afraid, no longer as desperate and helpless as in my past life, because I had the company of my family, my father's steadiness, my brother's protection, and my mother's love. I had enough courage and wisdom to face all unknown dangers and to resolve all potential hidden threats. I knew that as long as our family worked together, with one heart and mind, there would be no difficulty that couldn't be resolved, no hidden danger that couldn't be settled, and we would surely be able to protect our home and this hard-won stability. In the days that followed, every day when my brother returned from the Hanlin Academy, he would find me first, to tell me the latest news about the mother of Shen, never missing a day. The mother of Shen was still on the road to exile. Although her body was extremely weak, she coughed incessantly, and even walking was very difficult. She still hadn't given up on her thoughts of revenge. She was still secretly contacting the Shen family remnants. She secretly saved up food and money, and taking advantage of the guards' inattention, she secretly exchanged messages with those remnants, and even tried to secretly bribe the imperial guards of the exile convoy, offering heavy sums of money to let her go, as a preparation for her escape. But the people sent by my brother kept a very close eye, monitoring day and night. Every one of her moves, every contact with the former subordinates, and every attempt to bribe the guards were detected by us in time. Those guards who were bribed by her, before they even had a chance to act, were dealt with by us in advance. They were either transferred from the exile convoy, or investigated and punished according to the law. The mother of Shen's plans failed time and again, and were thwarted once after another. Once, Lady Shen took advantage of the nightfall, seizing the chance during the guard's shift change, and secretly broke free from her shackles, using the cover of darkness, trying to escape from the exile convoy, and ran toward the forested mountains. But she had barely taken a few steps before she was caught on the spot by men my brother had sent. She struggled desperately. Her hair was in disarray, her clothes were tattered, her face was covered with mud and hatred. She screamed and cursed our Z family, and cursed me, her voice hoarse and shrill, calling me ruthless and cruel, saying I deserved a terrible death, and that even as a ghost she would never let me go, nor spare a single member of the Z family. But in the end, her struggle was futile. She was too weak, completely incapable of resisting. In the end, the Imperial guards pinned her down and dragged her back, placing her under even stricter surveillance, locked all alone in a prison cart, both hands and feet shackled with iron chains, never again having a chance to escape, never again able to contact the Shen family. When I heard the news, I was playing chess with my mother. When my mother heard, the chess piece in her hand fell on the board with a snap. A trace of worry and lingering fear appeared on her face, her eyebrows furrowed tightly, her tone full of unease. Aang, that Lady Shen truly never repents. She has already fallen so low, completely desperate, and yet she still thinks of taking revenge on us. What should we do now? What if she really does find a chance to escape and find someone to help her? Then our Z family would be in great danger. I took my mother's cold hand, speaking gently but firmly, and softly reassuring her, "Don't worry, mother, we've already made thorough preparations. We've sent only the most trustworthy people to keep Lady Shen and the old Shen loyalists under constant watch day and night. They couldn't possibly stir up much trouble. Besides, she has repeatedly tried to escape, with intentions of revenge, which has already gravely offended His Majesty. The Emperor despises nothing more than someone unreformed, who plots rebellion. Once the exile convoy reaches its destination, we'll report her every misdeed, one by one in detail, along with evidence that she secretly contacted her old followers, attempted escape, and plotted revenge, all to be presented to His Majesty. The Emperor will definitely punish her severely. By then, she will never again have a chance to harm us, or to stir up any trouble." Mother nodded, letting out a long sigh, the worry on her face easing a little, though she was still a bit uneasy. "Let's hope so. My dear, I just don't want to see you dragged into all these disputes anymore. I don't want you to suffer even the slightest wrong or harm. All I ever want is to see you safe and sound, living a peaceful and stable life, happy and carefree for a lifetime." "Mother, I know." I smiled faintly, gently patting my mother's hand, speaking softly. "I understand how you feel, and I know your worries. Once all this is finally over, and Lady Shen is no longer a concern, I'll stay home peacefully with you and father, and spend time with my brother, never again getting caught up in court struggles, never again wrapped up in these disputes, just living a good life, accompanying you all, never letting you worry about me again." Day by day, time passed. The exile convoy gradually left the capital behind, headed toward the harsh, remote lands 3,000 miles away. The route grew ever more desolate, and the climate increasingly harsh. Cold winds howled, dust filled the air. News about Lady Shen became more and more scarce. Only occasional reports came, saying her health was rapidly deteriorating, and she seemed more absent-minded each day, coughing incessantly all day long, her whole body weak and exhausted, no longer able to reach out to the Shen loyalists. Nor did she have the energy or a will for revenge. She didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. The men my brother sent said, Lady Shen must have realized there was no hope left, knowing she'd never get away no matter what. And there was no way to take revenge on us. She just gave up resisting the Z family completely, curled up in the corner of her prison cart all day long, never speaking a word, her eyes empty, like a walking corpse without a soul, barely holding on to life. Several more months passed this way, before the exile convoy finally reached its destination, a barren and uninhabited waste, where icy winds howled all year round. Nothing but barren soil. Even wild birds seldom passed by. A place the emperor reserved for exiling the gravest criminals. News quickly came from my brother's men that after Lady Shen arrived in the wilderness, not long after, she succumbed to severe illness, couldn't adapt to the climate and water, and endured endless torment. One gusty, frigid night, she died quietly without a sound. This time, she was not buried by the roadside in a mass grave, or left to scavenging dogs, but was hurriedly buried by fellow exiles under cover of darkness, in a desolate field nearby. No tombstone, no funeral rites, not even her name was left behind. As if she had never existed in this world, vanishing silently into the desolation, never again able to stir up the slightest trouble. When I heard this news, I was sitting at my window, stroking the leaves of my ink orchids, feeling the coolness at my fingertips. I didn't react as I did when I first heard Shen Ting was executed. No cold sneer came to my lips, nor did I feel any thrill of revenge. There was only a profound calm, a sense of dust finally settling. Lady Shen was dead, the one who once sent me into hell, who made me suffer endlessly, and destroyed my life, the one consumed by her obsession, solely intent on vengeance against me, had finally vanished from this world forever. The grudges from my past life finally truly ended at this very moment. Nothing left holding me back. No more regret remaining. All the hatred I'd harbored for so many years, the pain and injustice I endured through 2 lives, finally faded away like smoke. and would never trouble me again, never keeping me up at night again. I walked to the window, gently caressing the ink orchid leaves, feeling their coolness on my fingertips. The dewdrops lightly rolled off the leaves, reflecting the sunlight. The sunlight poured in through the lattice, falling on the deep blue petals, giving off a gentle sheen, with a fragrance so sweet, refreshing to the soul. Suddenly, I felt that everything in this world had become especially beautiful, exceptionally gentle. The hardships of my past life were like a long, dreadful nightmare. Now the dream was finally over, and everything has returned to the right path. I have the company of my family, a peaceful life, a bright future ahead, and happiness that is truly mine. That's enough for me, enough to cherish for a lifetime. After Lady Shen's death, her former followers, those in the Shen family who wanted to avenge Shen Ting, were left leaderless. With no core to hold them together, they gradually scattered, and could no longer rally as they once did. Some stayed in the wasteland just to survive, barely managing with wild plants and hard labor, never daring any ambitious schemes again. Some, unwilling to give up, tried to sneak back to the capital, hoping for a chance to take revenge on our Z family, but were caught by the guards along the way, and dealt with according to the law, coming to miserable ends. Others hid their identities, changed their names, and fled to remote small towns, living a life as wandering exiles, never daring to show themselves again, never daring to mention they were ever from the Shen family. So the Shen family was finally wiped out, never again able to stage a comeback, nor present any threat to the Z family. At last we had rid ourselves of the shadow of the Shen family. Once we resolved the threat Lady Shen posed, life in the Z family became more peaceful and more prosperous. My father held an ever more stable position at court, earning more trust from the emperor, who often discussed state affairs with him, and even entrusted him with important matters for him to handle personally. Officials of all ranks held great respect for him. My brother excelled in the Hanlin Academy, not only compiling several acclaimed historical records, but also receiving high praise from the emperor. I was also promoted by His Majesty to be a scholar at the Hanlin Academy, responsible for overseeing the writing of the histories of the previous dynasty. My future seemed boundless. I became a standout among the younger generation in the capital. The princes and nobles of the capital, and the sons of noble families, upon learning of the rising reputation of the Z family, and hearing about my courage and intelligence at the 100 Flowers banquet, still kept sending people to the Z family to propose marriage, hoping to marry me as their wife and form an alliance with the Z family. Among them was the current third prince. He is gentle and refined, exceptionally talented, and greatly favored by His Majesty. He treats people with humility and admires me very much. There was also the heir of the Duke, protector of the nation. He is heroic and extraordinary, extremely loyal, and renowned for his military achievements. He is the ideal partner for many noble ladies in the capital, and he is also sincerely devoted to me. There were also many talented young men from humble backgrounds. They admired my courage and wisdom, and appreciated my character, hoping to marry me and spend a lifetime together. My father and mother also spoke to me many times, persuading me to choose a suitable man, to marry early, and live a stable life, to start my own family. Mother would often hold my hand and talk endlessly, saying, "Aheng, you're not young anymore. It's time for you to get married. You should find a good family. Look, the third prince is gentle and refined, and comes from a distinguished background. If you marry him, you'll become a prince's consort, enjoying a life of glory and wealth. The heir of the Duke is heroic, and if you sincerely want to marry him, I won't oppose it. He will surely treat you well, and protect you all your life. They are all very good choices. If you marry them, you'll be able to live a stable life from now on, and never have to suffer again, nor worry about all the trivial matters of the household." But I still refused every single proposal, without the slightest hesitation. It's not that I don't understand my father's and mother's desires, nor do I look down on those who came to propose. Among them are those with outstanding talent, those from prominent families, and those who truly care for me. But I no longer have any expectations for love in my heart, nor any desire to marry. In my past life, I paid a painful price for Shenting. A heart that was once passionate has long been frozen by endless pain and despair. Becoming numb, I can no longer feel the longing for love. In this life, I only wish to spend time with my family, to protect the Z family well, and safeguard this hard-won peace. I don't want to be shackled by love anymore, nor do I want to suffer another ordeal of betrayal and harm. I don't want to repeat the mistakes of my past life. I saw the disappointed expressions on my father and mother's faces, and felt somewhat guilty and a bit reluctant. But I still firmly said, "Father, Mother, sorry to let you down. I just truly don't want to get married." In my past life, I lost too much for the sake of love. I lost my elder brother, lost my family, lost my dignity, and suffered too much. Those pains, I can never forget for my whole life. In this life, I only want to be by your side and with my brother, to manage the Z family well, so our family can flourish, so we can always be together as a family, safe and sound, and happy and harmonious. As for love, I won't force it, nor do I expect it. Letting things happen naturally is enough. If it's meant to be, maybe I'll meet someone who moves my heart. If it's not, then I'll stay by your side for a lifetime. I'll be content not to marry. My father looked at me, was silent for a moment, and then let out a deep sigh, his eyes filled with both heartache and understanding. He gently patted my shoulder and said softly, "Ahang, Father knows what you're thinking and knows how much you suffered in your past life. Those wounds aren't something easily erased. I won't force you, and I won't pressure you. As long as you can be happy, be safe, and live well, that's all that matters. No matter what you decide, your father and mother and your brother will always support you and always be by your side, always your strongest support." Mother also wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, gripping my hand tightly, her voice gentle and filled with love. "Yes, Ahang. Mother won't pressure you. If you don't want to marry, then don't. Mother will take care of you for a lifetime and protect you all your life. As long as you are safe and sound, and live happily every day, and can let go of your past hurts, Mother is satisfied. All the glory and wealth, and all those noble families, are nothing compared to my daughter's safety and happiness." Hearing the words of my father and mother, my heart was filled with warmth and emotion. My eyes started to sting, tears welling up in my eyes, but I tried hard not to let them fall. In this life, I am so lucky to have them by my side, to tolerate my willfulness, to understand my pain, to support my choices, and to protect me in every way. I know with them around, I'll always have a support to rely on, always have a way out, never be alone, and never again be helpless and abandoned like in my past life, hopeless and powerless. Life continued on peacefully as always. Spring passed and autumn came. Cold alternated with heat. Flowers bloomed and faded. Before I knew it, several years had passed. The Z family's reputation grew higher and higher, becoming a true famed family in the capital. Many sons of noble houses took pride in befriending the Z family and came to visit us one after another, hoping to build good relations with our family. Father still served as Minister of Personnel in the imperial court, working diligently, with great devotion, putting the welfare of the people first, respected and loved by both the common people and officials. His Majesty trusted him greatly, often discussing state affairs with him. My brother also became the backbone of the Hanlin Academy, writing several classic historical works, and was frequently sent by His Majesty to handle important matters, becoming a capable assistant at the Emperor's side and winning his favor. I also gradually grew up, shedding my former innocence and weakness, and becoming more mature, more steady, more composed, and more perceptive. I was no longer tormented by the shadows of my past life, nor consumed by hatred. I learned to let go of the past, to enjoy life, to cherish the present, and to look at the world with gentle eyes, and treat everyone around me with kindness. I am no longer that Zi Heng who was slandered and at the mercy of others, hopeless and helpless. I have become someone who can protect myself, protect my family, and face everything with composure. Heng. Someone who is truly independent and strong inside. Heng. Every morning, at the break of dawn, I wake up early to admire the flowers and practice calligraphy in the courtyard, breathing in the fresh morning air, feeling the tranquility and beauty of the early hours. The ink orchids in the yard are growing more lush each year, blooming year after year. Their fragrance is overwhelming. I planted them with my own hands, just like the life I've lived in this lifetime, weathering countless storms, yet remaining resilient and still full of beauty. In the morning, I help my mother manage the family affairs, learning the ways of housekeeping, keeping the Z family well organized, from buying ingredients, to sewing clothes, to allocating the servants, and maintaining the courtyard. I handle every task meticulously, capable of handling each on my own, easing so many burdens for my mother. In the afternoon, I sit in my room reading or playing chess, or keep my father company and talk with him, listening to stories from the court, learning about the principles of being an official, gaining wisdom and strength from his words. Or I walk in the courtyard with my elder brother. He shares tales from the Hamlin Academy, talks about his ambitions and dreams, and shares his joys and sorrows with me. Sometimes I walk out of the Z house alone, strolling through the capital to experience the bustle of city life, watching the lively city streets, full of traffic and noisy crowds, seeing commoners living in peace and happiness, smiles on their faces, watching children play and laugh on the streets, with carefree figures, filling my heart with comfort. In my previous life, the people of the capital were often oppressed by the princess's faction. With heavy taxes and levies, their lives were bitter and miserable. Even basic necessities were difficult to secure. But now the emperor has reformed the government, abolished harsh policies, and reduced taxes, so the people can finally live peaceful and happy days, enjoy stable and prosperous lives, without worrying about food or clothing.